with it degree. The case to vote for you stop anti-Semitism. Meet contenders for anti-Semite of the year. The individuals who've gone above and beyond in spreading Jew hatred. First off, Hassan Piker defended Hamas terrorists after the 10/7 massacre, denied documented atrocities, including mass rape and murder, profits while violating Twitch's own community guidelines, using his massive platform to amplify anti-Semitic propaganda. Yeah, definitely. Denies mass murder? No, you didn't. It doesn't matter, dude. You can just lie. And no, you can't. The fuck am I going to do? Sue her for libel? I don't want to be around this fucking freak. Shut up. Stop constantly demanding litigation. How do you subject this? How do you subject yourselves to this every day and not rip your head off? Dude, I've been at this game for quite a long time. And I would much rather be in the position that I'm in now, where like there's so many people who are just like, these people are freaks and they're out of their minds. Normally, the progressive space that I occupy 5 years ago, if there was something like this coming out, they would be like, oh, I'm writing this fucking guy off. He is a Nazi. Also, I think the real reason why they say this is because of this. Okay? 1/3 of Jewish American teens say they sympathize with Hamas. Israeli government poll shows. Okay? What a fucking self-owned by the Israeli government for putting out this poll. Survey shows 66% of Jewish teens in the U.S. say they sympathize with the Palestinian people. That's right, baby. That's right, baby. Hey, where my HasanAbi heads at? Where my HasanAbi heads at, dude? Hey, what's that? Percent of Jewish teens in the U.S. say they sympathize with the Palestinian people. What happened? What happened? The survey by Israel's Ministry for Diaspora Affairs and Combating Anti-Semitism found that 36.7% of American Jewish teens either agreed or strongly agree with the sentiment. I sympathize with Hamas, Israeli media reported on Thursday. The number contrasted sharply with the 7% of Jewish teens living outside of the U.S. who agree with that statement. An even greater percentage of American Jewish teens, 41.3%, agree with the statement that Israel was committing genocide in Gaza. Only 10% of Jewish teens living outside the U.S. agree with that statement. Yo, what the fuck's going on with the non-American Jewish teens? Like, what's happening? Do they not have access to TikTok? What the fuck? We got to get those numbers up, man. We got to get those numbers up, baby. Hey, where my HasanAbi heads at? A majority, 66%, said they sympathize with the Palestinian people as a whole. Oh, the horror. The horror. Still, a significant majority of those polled said they had pro-Israel sentiment. 62% of American Jewish teens consider themselves to be Zionists, while 84% believe that Israel has a right to exist as a Jewish state. We still got a long way to go. We still got a long way to go, folks. We got a long way to go. The survey comes more than a year after Israel began its war on Gaza, which started as a response to the Hamas-led attack on southern throughout the course of the war. Israeli forces. Anyway, we're getting there, though. It's a good start. For all my Jewish teenager HasanAbi heads out there, I love you all, okay? You know this. Your cause is just. Keep pushing, okay? Are there any vids about the Long Island lady who created the anti-Semite, Liz? I'm sure she's full-on crank. I don't know. I don't know, like, when she revealed who she was. Anyway, did you see Israel is pulling its funding from Haaretz? I'm not surprised. They're just a not fascist state, I promise. In 2021, polling showed that 1/4 of American Jews agreed that Israel is an apartheid state, and a majority of them did not find that statement to be anti-Semitic. Several polls in the U.S. have indicated that while a majority of American Jews hold pro-Israel sentiments, a significant minority is critical of Israel's treatment of Palestinians. The Israeli Ministry survey says that young Americans had weaker Jewish identities and called on First of all, shameless to be like, oh, they're anti-Israel. That means they don't have a strong Jewish identity. It's fucking gross, okay? And they called on pro-Israel Jewish organizations to target younger age groups to strengthen their Jewish identity and subsequently their connection to Israel. Furthermore, their connection to Israel is weaker. They have less desire to visit Israel. They tend to support the Palestinian side in the war in Gaza, and their support for Israel increased only marginally following the events of October 7. Middle East Eye reported earlier this year about the rise of anti-Zionism among young American Jews. You can't let the toothpaste out of the tube. You can't put it back in, okay? Once you let it out, you can't put it back in. That's it. Yeah, it's like the ADL said. It's not a party problem. It's a generational problem. Also, Damm Falastini is too much of a banger. I think the reason the poll is different, by the way, between the U.S. and outside of the U.S. is Islamophobia is crazy in Western Europe. Yeah, it's crazy. This past year has changed a lot of my fellow Jewish friends' opinions on Israel. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people either hardened their position and like went down a scary path, or many of them, especially in our age group, went in the opposite direction where they were like, "Oh my god, I'm horrified at the contradictions that this nation state that was presented to me as like the singular savior of all Jews is actually doing horrifying atrocities in my name, and I don't like that." And that's understandable. Okay? Unc, you're 40. Okay, everyone under the age of 35, okay? That's it. So, that's what's going on. And there's still obviously like some resilient undertones here about like Israel's necessity to maintain itself as a Jewish ethno state, which many people don't think about beyond the fact that like, oh, it has to exist. You don't understand. Like, do you think that certain content creators who are ostensibly not far right will ever understand the sheer volume of Islamophobic fodder they provided to the far right? No, and also they don't give a shit. If you're Islamophobic and you present yourself as like a relatively progressive person with Islamophobic tendencies, you don't give a fuck if you are engaging in that sort of thing. You're already Islamophobic. It is very difficult to contend with that cognitive bias that you have for like one specific group. It's also heavily promoted and reinforced through different aspects of media. So the Jewish teen, all my other Jewish friends who are pro-Israel were already pro-Israel before October 7th. However, all my other Jewish friends who are pro-Palestine have mainly changed their opinions post-October 7th. Yeah, I get it. Also, we got this. Kamala Harris wants to run again. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Okay, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, no shot. The nomination is hers if she wants it. God, Democrats are such fucking losers, man. They're so stupid. They're never going to learn. Oh, by the way, speaking of the wonderful state of Israel, sanctions Haaretz after its publisher excoriated the Netanyahu government and its cruel apartheid regime on the Palestinians. Israel's act is reminiscent of the apartheid South Africa's ban on Donald Woods in the lead up to the fall of that regime. Yeah. It's wild that America is so fully, firmly invested and in the tank for a nation state that is doing a genocide, conducting an apartheid on a good day when it's not doing a genocide, okay, that is increasingly becoming more dangerous in the region, even though it has always been a destabilizing force in the region. It's gotten to a point where it's like literally out of control. It's tanked its own economy in the process of conducting this genocide. It is hyper reliant on America's endless support, both political support, political cover, and also direct material support to continue being this violent aberration. And yet, America's in the tank for the country as the country itself is fucking falling apart. The country itself is falling apart. Israeli branded products are being considered a somewhat of a pariah, okay? Israelis are being considered a pariah. Israel is being considered a pariah state directly as a consequence of these actions in a way that is not dissimilar to Russia, okay? And worst of all, it's happening with public scrutiny, regardless of the fact that these governments in the Western world, with some exceptions, have tried to maintain their posture, their pro-Israel posture. So it's the people that are like, yeah, no, I don't give a fuck what my administration or my government is saying. Like, I can't stand what's going on. And the reality of the matter is just, this is completely untenable. You are doing a mind genocide on your young followers and so are the far right countries falling apart due to all the slop that you and others speak. Social media was the downfall of it all. Yeah, I'm doing a mind genocide on my young followers by being anti-genocide unconditionally, no matter who's doing it. You're right. Like, when certain contradictions, like these liberal institutions or liberal democracies that seemingly maintain at least an aesthetic posture towards democracy, upholding socially progressive values, and being anti-genocide is the worst thing you can do, right? When that is at odds with their communication, especially when like the people can see what the fuck is going on, but then like all of these institutions that are supposed to be truthful and honest are just like, no, don't believe your lying eyes. Most people look at that and go, yeah, fuck that, dude. I am going to believe my eyes. I'm not going to believe you ever again. And that's precisely what's going on. It's like, it's obvious that these inconsistencies have gotten so out of control. Okay. Not every single person is well equipped, and not every single person is like completely aware of all the stuff that Israel has done, or all of the internal strife that is occurring in Israel, like the pro rape January 6th that happened, if you remember, or the fact that they are banning any sort of like opposition newspapers in the fucking country, even if the newspapers themselves actually have a broad diversity of opinion that ranges from anti-Zionist perspectives all the way to pro-Zionist perspectives like Haaretz, right? Like, all of this is just pure, unfettered, unconditional, unrestricted fascism. And as like international organs of justice, like the International Criminal Court, are taking action against Israel for the clear-cut definitional war crimes that Benjamin Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant engaged in, everything is falling apart. And what these guys don't understand, what defenders of Israel in the Western world don't understand, is that like, you are losing your own clout and your own capabilities of influencing people when you stand in opposition against certain values that you claim you care about. Donna Griff says, you should also start a Righteous Among Nations and honor amazing people like Douglas Murray. Ew. Spencer Gard, I don't know who the fuck this is. Aaron Milan, Elisa Stefanik, Richie Torres, John Fetterman, and scores of others who have had our back and our voice in these dark times. True friends of the Jewish people. Add Brianna Wu onto the list. Yuck. So basically, this is becoming a standard. This is becoming the new standard. It's like, I try to keep people from completely writing off mainstream media. I rely on mainstream media. Okay. I rely on it heavily. And I think it's very important, and it's an important instrument for people understanding the truth. You should always be critical. You should always be critical of the narratives that you encounter, but it's still very important that there are real journalists out there that are doing what? Have you covered Hassan Minhaj getting canceled for absolutely no reason? No. I still trust mainstream media to deliver factually accurate reporting. And I will always call out the inconsistencies in their factually accurate reporting when they present themselves, okay, and their biases. But having said that, they are still important. They must exist, okay? While the democratization of media and the online space has been tremendous for voices such as myself that normally never would get any sort of coverage whatsoever, like, I would not exist if not for the internet. There is no person like myself that would ever be able to speak on or have a prominent speaking position, a prominent role in a mainstream outlet. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be a person who has my opinions are not going to be on CNN, or they're not going to be on MSNBC. They're not going to like have their own show. You know what I mean? They're not going to be able to, it's just like completely outside of the neat little confines of what is permissible speech on mainstream platforms. So yeah, Democracy Now! Is a great example. You think Democracy Now! Is the same as MSNBC? That's what I'm saying. Exactly. But having said that, of course, this democratization of the media has also created a shit ton of little weirdos who are grifters, who, you know, run on false narratives on a regular basis, don't have that same level of interest in focusing on factual reporting. And there's also a lot of that too. There's that is very frustrating. There's a lot of misinformation. There's a reason why people seemingly live in entirely different planes of existence nowadays. There is a healthy amount of falsehood that you can be fed. There's a healthy amount of right-wing propaganda that you can eat up, okay, in the process. Hold on. Where is the wisecrack video that I guess talks about this in particular? What is this? I spent like 20 minutes trying to find this, so please consider watching. In terms of younger Jews in America, this is something that AIPAC has been aware of for the better part of a decade. Chuck Schumer spoke about it openly at a speech at AIPAC conference in 2017. You don't have to watch the full vid, like 2 minutes, and you get the point. I think more people should see this.
One of the great problems that Israel faces in the future, not immediately, but in the future, but we have to worry about it. I'll be having lunch with the Prime Minister tomorrow.
You're an American. You're an American senator. You're an American Democratic Party senator. Why the fuck do you worry yourself about the future of Israel? Like, I don't. It's so stupid. This is, this is a Senator Chuck Schumer's remarks from the AIPAC Policy Conference from 2017.
Tomorrow, and I intend to talk to him about this and what we can do about it. The fact of the matter is that too many of our young...
I just jokingly, I talk about this, but like, can you imagine any other country? Can you imagine them being like, guys, we need to worry about the way that Americans view Estonia. You don't understand. Americans have a very negative perception of Estonia, and we need to make sure that like they no longer have this negative perception of Estonia. We have to make sure that Americans love Estonia. It's like, what are you saying? Like, what the fuck do you mean, dude? What do you mean? And this is not me being like, I'm not anti-Estonia by any metric, okay? But it would be weird if a senator came out and was saying that. Does that make sense? Like, I use Estonia as an example because it's like a silly one, okay? Disingenuous to compare the two. What? Why? Because, brother, Israel's a U.S. satellite. Of course the senators worry about it. Yeah, I know that. I know that, you silly goose. I'm talking to people who aren't considering it like that, okay? That's my point. You're making my point for me.
Younger generations don't share the devotion to Israel that our generations have.
Like, what do you mean? Like, that's an insane statement, brother. Look at this. Younger generations don't have the same... Dude, let's run it back.
Too many of our younger generations don't share the devotion to Israel that our generations have.
Yeah. This is devastating, guys. Younger generations don't want to ride for Israel as hard. And this is really fucked up.
That's a problem. We have to face it and deal with it. Now, it's certainly not true in AIPAC. We have thousands of students here who go home and spread the word of Israel. Students, stand up. We want to applaud you.
Glaze. Meat riding. Okay, flag on the play. God damn. I think post-October 7th has made a lot of younger Jews realize the cruelty of the Israeli state, and they don't have the pre-embedded reverence for Israel itself that the older generations have, so they are able to separate itself from Judaism. Yeah, that's it. That's at the heart of the matter, okay? That's at the heart of the matter. Do you believe Israel is an apartheid state currently conducting a genocide or not? Do you disagree with every human rights group? Do you disagree with every instrument of international justice? Do you disagree with the damn near entirety of the public at this point in even Western nations? Because, like, the global South doesn't get a lot of play here, but, like, they've always had this position. They understand it. They recognize it. They know what colonialism is because their near history is riddled with the violence of colonialism and also the current violence of imperialism. But even in the Western world, people who sit in the core of empire, the heart of empire, people are starting to recognize, like, this kind of shit is completely unsustainable. It's untenable, okay? Like, why the fuck are we doing this? And when you lose entire generations in the Western world, despite the unlimited faucet of propaganda in this direction, you're fucked. Israel has nothing to do with Judaism, okay? It doesn't. It doesn't have anything to do with Judaism. And we will look back at all these people that have presented it as such, as people who tied ISIS to Islam, okay? It is akin to tying ISIS to Islam, saying this is true Islam. This is what Islam is all about. Saying it has nothing to do with Judaism isn't fair. It is completely fair that what do you mean? What are you talking about? It 100% has nothing to do with Judaism. The fuck? Judaism, out of the Abrahamic religions, is the OG one. It's like thousands of years old. What the fuck do you mean? Zionism hasn't even been around and fully fleshed out for like 100+ years. What are you talking about? Israel itself has existed for 76. It was originally concocted by secular Jews that didn't give a fuck about the religion. The religious justifications were simply to bring on board religious Jews who didn't actually care about it at all and actually hated it originally. Ridiculous. It is historically inappropriate. And I'm no Zionist, but isn't true what? Yeah. There isn't a good enough theological justification. There's actually theological justifications against the existence of Israel currently as it stands, but the idea that like, yeah, the most conservative religious reading specifically says Israel is to be given by the Messiah, not taken by force. That's why Hasidic Jews are largely anti-Zionist. Yeah. Like there's plenty who are also very pro-Israel, but I'm just saying like, even on the theological interpretation, this is primarily concocted by Christian Zionists have outflanked the Jewish Zionists for centuries. Okay. It's ridiculous. And not only that, but also, once again, it is primarily pushed for in the United States of America by Christians. Okay, that is the one group that has the most motion when it comes to Israel, that funds the most, that offers the most money when it comes to Israel, when it comes to settlements specifically. Kufi, Christians United for Israel, is literally way more fucking powerful as an institution, as a group, as an organization than like any number of different Jewish-led pro-Israeli 501c3s and 501c4s. Okay? Does it not shock people at all that like the woke version and the anti-Semitic version of like Israel is for the Jews and must exist as a Jewish demographic majority ethno state is, and all Jews care about is Israel, is literally the same thing that Nazis and also Jake Tapper say? Does that not strike anybody as odd? It just doesn't make any sense. To me, at least. I don't understand. Why are they handshaking? These guys are supposed to hate one another. It's right there. Jake Tapper will go on television and on CNN and be woke about dual loyalty tropes at the behest of like defending Israel. And then we'll, in the same breath, turn around and get mad when Nazis say the dual loyalty shit. Israel's #1 evangelical pastor supporters, like John Hagee, who have been invited to speak at the pro-Israel rally alongside people like Van Jones and numerous other Democratic Party congresspersons and shit, have openly stated, televangelist John Hagee has openly stated that like the Holocaust was a good thing because then it led to the creation of Israel. Like they're straight up, he's a fucking psycho. So how does this actual rabid Nazi sociopath get so much play in the pro-Israeli circles despite his openly anti-Semitic statements? Judaism does have something to do with Israel. Judaism absolutely does not justify Israel's actions and is in fact directly against Judaism's teachings. These statements are both true, I believe. I think it's a really solid propaganda. Okay? Especially post-Holocaust. It was like very clearly a super successful mythology to build around some of the aspects of the religion. It's demonstrably successful. It worked very well. There's a real fear that people have. Anyway, holy fuck. I spend all of my days talking about this. I feel like, Jesus Christ, babies are being melted alive. And I'm over here fucking constantly talking about this shit over and over again 1,000 times a day. Sometimes I feel like I'm losing my mind a little bit over it. Isn't it like saying America's all about Jesus? Exactly. Israeli Ambassador Erdogan, Christian allies of Israel are Iron Dome of truth for the Jewish state. Yeah. Also, former Israeli ambassador Gilad Erdan literally went in the midst of like in the initial aftermath of October 7th. He went to John Hagee's church and specifically talked about the Armageddon and shit. You're Jewish. You don't believe in any of that shit. Why the fuck are you talking about that? Because you know that this is a really solid base of support. Okay? It's like when you hear Ben Shapiro talk about abortion. It's like, dog, you're Jewish. What the fuck? What the fuck do you care about abortion? What do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? Or Felix makes this joke all the time, but it's like in the same vein as like, what's his face? Josh Shapiro talking about his faith. Like, this is not, like, this way of communicating is not even remotely similar to the historic ways in which, like, Jewish people have interpreted their faith or communicated their faith at all. It's just like, it completely muddied. The waters have been completely muddied by Christian culture. Anyway, we also got, well, here, let's do the fucking cases being dropped real quick. We'll do some lib watch here. But all the Trump cases are getting thrown out because he's the God King now. But before we do that, here's Dan Bongino with a self-own.
Why does everybody want to fight me all the time? Do I have a punchable face or something?
On the air with breaking news about President-elect Donald Trump, the Justice Department Special Counsel Jack Smith just filed a motion to dismiss the federal criminal case against the president-elect over his efforts to overturn the 2020 election results. The news comes after NBC News learned the Justice Department had been planning to wind down its federal cases against Mr. Trump. It also comes as NBC News learned that
Lamont Drake apparently donated to ACP. Yeah, get the fuck out of here. No, he didn't. But Drake is also not a good time to recognize or admit this, but he has been one of the most prominent artists out there that has actually openly been pro-Palestine early on.
Smith and his team plan to resign
Ultra rare Drake W.
before Mr. Trump returns to the White House. We want to go straight to our justice and intelligence correspondent, Ken Delaney. And Ken, fill us in here.
Lester, Special Counsel Jack Smith and his team have filed a sparse but historic document here asking Judge Tanya Chutkan to dismiss this case. And the grounds they gave is essentially that the Justice Department has always held historically that a sitting president can't be prosecuted or indicted. And that principle applies here. Let me just read a little bit from what.
Now they won't even let Trump fire them. They're surrendering and Trump takes a victory lap without suffering a bad news cycle. Yeah. And also, it literally confirms everything Trump has been saying. Like, there has never been a better moment to be a Trump supporter than this moment. Every single thing that he said about, like, these loser, cowardly Dems are coming after me, doing lawfare, you're basically admitting you don't have any interest in preserving the institutions or the rule of law if you're going to be like, well, I guess we can't do anything because you're the president now. That's it. Complete, utter, humiliating defeat for all of these institution defenders, these lovers of institutions. Once again, the damage that this will do, the damage that this will personally do, if the Democrats actually did care about preserving the integrity of these institutions, the damage that this act does to the validity and the legitimacy of those institutions are insurmountable. It's completely, just throw it away. It's like Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski going down the Mar-a-Lago to kiss Trump's ring after 8 years of calling him a fucking fascist. Then you didn't believe it at all. You didn't believe that he was a fascist at all. You were just lying. It's like when Democrats turn around and say, like, yeah, you know what? Immigrants are actually bad. We got to do the border ourselves. After calling Republicans racist for 4, 5, 6, 7 years. Okay, I guess you admit it then. You're just a liar. You don't give a shit. In light of this, what are your opinions on leftists voting third party this year and letting this guy do this damage? I understand why some leftists, but this is a bad precedent for Trump to set. If you think this is the fault of, like, random people who voted third party, who Kamala Harris lost by such wide margins that, like, their votes were inconsequential regardless, you are stupid, okay? There is no better way to put it. You are watching Democrats in key positions right now taking a knee and genuflecting to this fucking fascist piece of shit, and you're still like, who's at fault here? Random third-party voters, actually, who, if they all voted for the Democrats, would have still not allowed the Democratic Party to fucking win. Okay? What the fuck? You cannot outflank the Democratic Party. You cannot make the assertion that these people are automatically in the tank for the Democratic Party, but are silly and selfish, and that's why they're not voting for the Democrats. This is an idiotic way to campaign. Okay? That's not how this works. And what's happening right now is far more consequential. People need to cut this shit out, okay? Stop. Do you work for the DNC? Do you have pay stubs to show for it? Why are you defending their inadequacy for free on an independent outlet such as myself? Okay? You're coming to a community of leftists to be like, I am going to defend the $700,000 salary winning idiotic analysts and campaign staffers that literally fucking openly consulted the Democratic Party to lose. I'm going to defend them and their integrity. It's like these guys are getting paid 6 figures. They melted $1 billion. They were $30 million in debt by the end of this fucking campaign, and they lost. It's so dumb. Stop playing. Stop being a mark, okay? Please, I beg of you. Stop being a sucker. Stop being a sucker for those who are in positions of power within the Democratic Party You are literally doing their bidding. You are refusing to recognize the truth, and you are allowing the Democrats to continue building this narrative that it was actually some random leftist that caused the Democrats to lose again. These people are defending the DNC when Trump has not even gotten into power because they are worried of any transformation to the Democratic Party or growing efforts to leave the party as a whole. I really want to see what Bernie and his organizations are going to do soon. They're planning something. We'll see.
The department and the country have never faced the circumstance here where a federal indictment against a private citizen has been returned by a grand jury and a criminal prosecution is already underway when the defendant is elected president. Confronted with this unprecedented situation, the special counsel's office consulted with the department's Office of Legal Counsel. That's the group inside the DOJ decides constitutional legal positions. And then they said that after careful consideration, the Justice Department has determined that the OLC's prior opinions concerning the Constitution's prohibition on federal indictment and prosecution of a sitting president apply to this situation, Lester. So, look, this indictment, this involves the 3 conspiracies Donald Trump is accused of in an effort to cling to power after the 2020 election. And it marked an extraordinary moment in American history. This is the first ever accusation that a sitting president committed crimes in an effort to cling to power. The dismissal also marks an extraordinary moment. 50 years after Richard Nixon was forced by lawmakers from both parties to resign the presidency amid allegations of criminal conduct, half of American voters discounted equally serious charges of criminal misconduct in office against Donald Trump. They returned Mr. Trump to the presidency. And if the lesson of Watergate was that no one was above the law, the lesson of the Trump era is that a majority of Americans have decided that this principle no longer applies. And what I can tell you, Lester, is that we also expect a filing in the other case, which has been dismissed by the judge, that classified documents case against Mr. Trump, which is on appeal. We expect a filing there, although it's not clear exactly what that filing will say because there are 2 other defendants in that case. And Jack Smith, the special counsel, is required to file a report to the Attorney General